Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another week here on Liam's Fight Night Picks. Look who it is again. I'm going to start calling this man the super sub. At the last minute, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by my No Punches Paul colleague and very good friend, Jay's Fight Talk. How are we doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good job I'm match fitter. Good job I'm match fit.
Always match fit, always ready to jump in. And hey, what a week and what a card to jump in on.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Best card of the year for me. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my volume so I can hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, card of the year. I'm sort of drew the short straw last week. No disrespect to Nick Ball and the people that fought last week, but yeah, I could have done with missing last week and coming on this week. So it's not as though we'll need a lot of filling this week, mate. We've got plenty to get our teeth into.
We do have plenty to get our teeth into. So, as everyone knows, I'm sure, it is destination the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It is Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev going at it for all the marbles at £175. A stellar supporting cast on the undercard. And me and my good friend here are going to cover 6 fights. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron, mate. So, over 10 rounds. We had a conversation about this yesterday with our good friend Sam, which you can see over on YouTube. As we said, Whittaker 8-0. It's his 4th outing of the year. He picks up his first ranking belt last time. There's still questions about his power. So, going to lead off with, what do we make of Ben Whittaker's power so far, mate?
Yeah, I don't think he's a concussive one-punch knockout merchant. And I always thought his sort of accumulation of punches would stop people, but we have seen over the past sort of 2 or 3 fights that he's sort of unloaded on people and he's had them in positions where the legs have sort of wobbled a little bit. And, you know, initially I'd sort of say he didn't know what to do in terms of getting him out of there. He's learning the trade and he's different to amateurs. You know, you get very few stoppages or a lot less stoppages in amateur boxing. I don't think he hits that hard for a light heavyweight. Now, I'm going to sort of contradict myself because he moves and does a lot of the flashiness that Prince Naseem did. But Prince Naseem used to knock people dead. But what I do notice the differences between Naseem Hamed and sort of Ben Whittaker. Naseem planted his feet a lot more, so he'd do a lot of the flashy stuff, but he'd have his foot planted as he threw in a screw shot. So he's throwing it for power. Ben Whittaker is throwing a screw shot, but ready to pivot out, to go behind, to tap on the head. So he's never actually sitting down on his punches. So I'd like to see him hold his feet, hold the centre maybe, and try get Liam out of there. I think Liam's the wrong opponent to try that with, because I don't believe that he's going to knock. I don't think he hits that. Liam has never been stopped and won't be stopped in terms of knocked out. So I don't believe it's the right fight for it. What I would like to see is him stand his ground a little bit more, try hold the centre and tee off maybe on Liam, because an accumulation could get him out of there, or it could cause a nasty cut or a wobble and the ref stops it like that. And so I think I'm unsure about his power at the minute. I do believe I know enough about boxing to know that he's not this Golovkin, concussive Deontay Wilder style puncher, but I believe anybody that can throw a decent boxing punch can hit hard, and you can turn your fist, and there's ways of landing a punch that gives it that additional power. But I would like to see less of the foot movement, more of the plant, and just let him test his power and tee off a little bit more. So I'm sort of undecided on his power.
Yeah, mate, I'm completely with you there. He's a showman, isn't he? He thrives off of a crowd booing him or cheering him or going, ooh, when he hits an opponent on the back of the head. But going to be a very different crowd in Saudi, as we've had previous discussions on, and he's not going to have a crowd to feed off, so he needs to bring the energy to get the eyeballs onto him. Quickly touching on Liam Cameron. So 23-6 is Liam. We all know his hard luck story, excessive ban he got given for recreational drug use, not performance-enhancing drug use. Again, we don't condone any form of drug use here, but the difference is we see what fighters are getting for performance-enhancing drugs compared to him, so you can understand why it's as sour grapes over.
Well,
however,
you know, Paul Pogba got a ban for similar, but then got a ban for some form of performance-enhancing. I know it's a different sport.
Yeah,
he got 4 reduced to 18 months. He'll be playing again at the start towards the end of this current football season. You know, so for me, and I don't want to caveat off onto the the boxing boards and VADA and whatnot, but there should be a rule across the board. I know there's individual cases, but there should be like a point scoring system. So, you X, Y, and Z supplement or drug or whatever that flags. Below a certain level, it's this much. Above a certain level, it's that much. It's not that difficult to do. I mean, MMA have a similar kind of point scoring system. I know that USADA that were basically contracted to the UFC at some point. It was a lot. That's another conversation. But they had point scoring. So if you got done for Ostarine, for example, or clenbuterol, and it was 5.4 picograms per liter of oxygen or whatever they work it out in, your ban came under a remit of 18 months or 6 months or whatever. Boxing, it's like, is it cloudy outside? Is it a Tuesday? Right, we'll give him 2 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's no rhyme or reason to it.
No, it doesn't add up. But yeah, look, he's back in the game now. This is his 5th fight since he's come back into boxing in 2022. Saw him out against Lyndon Arthur at the start of the year. Lost on a split decision. For me, I scored that 96-92 to Arthur. He had his moments in the fight. There's no question about it. But he was
close.
I mean, look, Liam Cameron, is he getting this opportunity because of his story as opposed to his boxing level? If we're honest, he's fringe British level. Anytime he's stepped up with anyone British or higher, he's fallen short. And that's kind of the story I'm at for Saturday night. So we'll move on to a prediction for this one, mate, and I'll come to you first.
I think Ben Whittaker on points.
Yeah, mate, I'm in. I'd love to see him get a stoppage, but I think you only have to look at Liam Cameron's records and Whittaker winning this fight on points, but doing it in a convincing style. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It sets them up nicely for the British title fight next year. So I will agree with you and go for Ben Whittaker via points for our first fight of the evening.
I will just say, sorry, I didn't mean to be rude there. What I will say, though, is, yes, Whittaker points, but I would not like to see him because, I don't like to see this, especially from somebody that I know. But he needs to put on a performance. He needs to beat Liam Cameron up. So it needs to be as close, points decision, but a wide points decision. A bit like he did with, what was the African kid that he fought that headbutted him when he walked him back to the corner?
The name escapes me, but similar to what he done at Selhurst Park last time out.
He's got to be battering him. If he's not stopping him, he's got to be doing everything but stop him for me. For me to be sort of not underwhelmed by the points decision.
I echo those sentiments. So we will move on to our next fight, and this is a historic fight. It is not only the first, it is the first women's fight we have seen on one of these Riyadh season cards. It is Sky Nicholson and Raven Chapman for the WBC featherweight title. We'll start with Sky, mate. So 11-0. This is her second defense of the world title, a third outing of the year. Look, let's be honest. Sky Nicholson's boxing ability is unquestionable. She is lovely to watch in terms of what she does. But you watch 2 rounds, you go out, make yourself a cup of tea, come back, and it's the same. So my question is, a lot of her fights are rinse and repeat. So my first one here is, has her amateur style, has she fully now grown into being a professional? Or has she still got kind of an amateur style in some ways?
Yeah, she has. Very much. Who can I say she reminds me of? Luke Campbell.
Yep.
Luke Campbell turned over. And I'm not disrespecting Luke Campbell because Luke Campbell achieved great things and, was a fantastic professional, consummate professional. I just believe that he turned over at the wrong time for the division, the lightweight division. He just, we're never going to win a world title with the people that were at the top. But listen, boxed some big names, but what I'm getting at anyway is his style didn't really transfer across, so he was really fast and he could outpoint someone pretty easily. But when he was made to fight, he sort of come unstuck and it didn't really work for him and he got dragged into dogfights. I mean, he had a war with Tommy Coyle, for God's sake. No disrespect to Tommy. But Luke Campbell, head and shoulders above in terms of, not resume, but pedigree. And Tommy Coyle had a decent career for what he was. But yeah, I believe that her style is very similar to Luke Campbell, so she can easily outpoint somebody. But it's not a pro style. It's not a fan-friendly style. For people like us who appreciate boxing, even we get bored at some stages in the fight because it's rinse and repeat. End of the jab, pop, 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 1-2, slip, 3-punch combination, back out, move around for a bit, get in close, pivot off, score out. It's not fan friendly in terms of professionals. And yeah, can't believe I'm going to say this, but I probably prefer this one to be 2-minute rounds, to be honest, because I can't see her stopping anybody late on in the rounds. She's a bit pitter patter for me.
Yeah, and mate, it's really difficult because she's such a lovely boxer to watch. However, watching her for 20 minutes over 10 rounds, it can be tiresome at times, but that's not to take away from anything she does. We'll move on to Raven Chapman. She's 9-0. It's her first world title fight. She's coming into this off the back of 2 fights in a row where all 3 judges have given her all 10 rounds. So she's effectively fought 20 rounds and had 2 shutouts. And I'll be honest, having been at the O2 for her last fight, that opponent wasn't fit to lace Raven Chapman's gloves, never mind, being the fight. So we're talking about levels here, which is where I think she made them unstuck. And I suppose that is the question here. It's only her 10th professional fight. Raven turned pro after only 22 amateur fights. We know Sky has an extensive amateur career, was an Olympian, came up short in 2020. Is experience going to be a factor in this fight? Is Sky's amateur and professional experience going to be a little bit too much at this point for Raven?
You'd like to think so. So you would say that on paper, but here's the exclusive drum roll. I think Raven Chapman's got a better professional style, and I've got a funny feeling that this potentially could be the upset of the night. I've written down that Raven Chapman's going to win by stoppage, TKO stoppage.
Okay.
And I've just got a funny. I did say earlier on, we've just done a show, sort of a preview. We're doing the No Punches Pulled guys are doing a sort of a short every day on each fight, as opposed to doing a full prediction like we're doing here. And I said I nearly picked Sarah Meta to upset Eubank Jr. I believe there's going to be an upset. And I think that this one I could actually see something really crazy, like a clash of heads or a dislocation, or, not necessarily Raven Chapman putting a beating on Sky Nicholson and stopping her like that. But I just think that she's going to draw her into a bit of a dogfight, because I think that's how Raven Chapman, that's the only way for me that Raven Chapman, not the only way, but I think that's the best way, the best chance and opportunity Raven Chapman has to beat Sky Nicholson. I don't think she can outbox her. I think Sky's too slick for her. I think she's too fast, she's too slick, too long. So I think if Raven Chapman can get past the jab, can get hold of her, trap her in the corner and not give her angles to get out and pivot off, I think if she can turn it into a dogfight, I think there's a good chance she could win this fight. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Chapman.
So you go for Chapman. Yes, your predictions, Chapman. Everything you've just said, I agree with. Raven's best chance is to make this a rough and tough, rugged fight on the inside. There we go. Chapman KO.
So we're not lying. Chapman TKO.
It's making it a rough and tough, rugged fight on the inside. It's making Sky uncomfortable. It's not allowing her to get into a pitter-patter, cute, rhythm. There you go, Jake, in for you, rhythm that she loves to have. But for me, if Sky Nicholson, my prediction here is Sky Nicholson's level and pedigree is what we think it is in terms of from the amateur. I have her winning it on points. Not wide. I'm going probably 97, 93. I'm going sort of that. But they're going to be competitive rounds. It's going to come down to, it's a 2-minute fight. It's who has the burst early enough in the rounds to catch the judge's eye. And it shouldn't be like that. But I'm going for Sky Nicholson. You're going for Raven Chapman. Yeah. All right, on we go to our favourite boxer, Chris Eubank Jr., taking on Kamel Seremeta for the IBO Middleweight Championship of the World.
This is the GS Fight Talk sweepstakes.
Right, so Junior, returning after 13 months, obviously the Liam Smith rematch was his last fight. Another new coach. He's with Jonathan Banks now. I've lost count of the amount of coaches Eubanks had in his career.
I like Jonathan Banks. Do you know he sends me a message every year and wishes me a happy birthday, bless him. So thank you.
I've got a lot of time for Jonathan Banks, but we all know how Eubank gets on with coaches.
Yeah, not good. He's probably the only coach that's accepted him at this point, probably.
Yeah. First fight under his partnership with Boxer. Be honest, how bored are you of this level of opponent from Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, I'm bored of Chris Eubank Jr. full stop. I was intrigued when he turned over. I'm a fan of his dad. His dad's in my top 5 of favourite fighters of all time. He jumped on his dad's bandwagon. We believed the hype for a while, and then Billy Joe Saunders brought him down to earth with a with a crash, bang wallop. Yeah, he boxed better in the last 6. Didn't win the last 6 for me. He won 4 of the last 6.
It's a 12 round fight.
4 of the last 6, and he lost. George Groves beat him fairly comfortably. Yeah, I'm underwhelmed, as I always am with Chris Eubank Jr. fights. I'm underwhelmed. Even if this were Conor Benn, I don't want to see that fight. For me, that's a misfits fight. It's a YouTube fight in a triangle ring where you can bring your dad in. See, do you know what? I'd prefer to watch Ben Senior, Eubank Senior, Eubank tag team. Put it on Misfits. Let them tag the dads in. Honestly, they'd probably do better pay-per-view numbers on that. I'm underwhelmed, as I always am. And this is I say it every time, as respectfully disrespectful as I can be to his opponent. Yeah, most people had never heard of him. He's only fought. There's only 2 people on his resume that people casuals will recognise, and they're Kennedy Golovkin and Jaime Munguia. He got stopped in them both. I thought I'd found another opponent that I recognised, but it was Diaz that plays for Man City that's got the same name. So no, I'm underwhelmed. He's been brought in here for a showcase. They're hoping that Eubank Jr. smashes him to pieces, and then he'll get on the mic, won't he? He'll call Conor Benn a pussy. He'll call Canelo a pussy. They're all scared of him. Nobody wants to fight him. And then he'll go to the club with his IBO belt wrapped around his waist. Well, it won't be a club, will it? They're in it's Riyadh season. So he'll go to a shisha bar with his belt wrapped around his waist and tell everybody how great he is. Good luck to the kid. He's made loads of money off his dad's name by fighting 80% nobodies. And again, with the most respect I can give to his opponent, you're a nobody, mate. And I meant to the casual fan. Yeah. Nobody knows who he is. That's what I meant. We know who he is. But for me, he's not even the best in his weight division in the country that he's fighting out of.
He's not. He's Poland's number 3. Look, I don't want to touch on this fight for too long because we have a fantastic card here, and unfortunately, Eubank Jr.
Yeah, we don't want to bring that.
So, look, for me, we know what Eubank's done. He's told Boxer, he's got Ben Shalom as a little puppet master saying, we're going to do this partnership. This is what I want to do. I want this layup. I want this. He's got the best relationship with the IBO I've ever known of anyone in boxing. So he's managed to get an IBO belt on the line for the 3rd time in his career. And if I'm really honest, Eubank Jr., if he's still got anything about him, finishes this fight inside 6 rounds. That's my prediction. Eubank.
Yeah, I've gone for 7. I've gone for 7. But yeah, he should get a TKO stoppage in this fight. It'll be cagey for a couple of rounds. Eubank has got a chin. I'll give him that. He's like his dad. That must be genetics. He can take a bat. I know Liam stopped him. Wasn't with an elbow. It was with about 4 or 5 punches. But, it should get him out of there. If it takes him 7 rounds to get him out of there, I'll actually be disappointed. I'm just being as kind as I can. But Eubank Jr. really should be able to get this fella out of there in 3 or 4 rounds, realistically. But he'll probably do his bit of showboating and moving around a bit, won't he, for a bit. But yeah, if Eubank Jr. is stood there after a 12-round fight, then I'll be more disappointed than anything, because he's got no credence to stand there then and start calling the big boys out if he can't smash the 3rd best middleweight in Paul out of there.
Yeah, look. It's the downer on the card. I've said all I want to say about it. So we'll move on to, for me, the number 1 cruiserweight in the world in Jai Opetaia, taking on Jack Massey for Opetaia's IBF and Ring Magazine cruiserweight titles. Listen, I've just said it there. Opetaia, for me, is the number 1 cruiserweight in the world. I am frustrated that he is taking this fight as opposed to trying to unify some of the other belts. That's my negative on this fight. Now, moving on to the positives. Opetaia is 25-0. It's his 2nd outing of 2024. Obviously, he had his 2nd fight with Marius Briedis back in May. We saw how quickly he kind of deteriorated after looking comfy for 8 rounds against Briedis. He then suddenly sort of lost, didn't he? So, is there questions over Opetaia's gas tank, do you reckon? Or was that just he was complacent and felt like he'd done enough to win the fight?
Yeah, I think he got lazy in that fight. I just think he took his eye off the ball. Thought he was cruising to a landslide points victory there, and I think he just got lazy and sloppy, and I think he also didn't save as much gas as he maybe needed to. I think it was more about not being clever with his energy. I think he gave away too much in the early rounds and really started to struggle towards the end. He was breathing with his mouth open and sort of very lackluster in his defence, and then he didn't seem to have as much pop in the shots that were coming back. So I don't believe we'll see that again from him. I think he's a consummate professional. He never see him on. You don't see him falling out of clubs, and you don't hear much about him. He seems to be a family guy that's a consummate professional. So I expect this to be a tough fight for him, because it's Jack Massey, and Jack Massey can fight at heavyweight. And I've stood at the side of Jack Massey. I was shocked how big he was.
He's
way before he
very wide, isn't he? He's very thick set.
Yeah, I randomly saw him somewhere like Scarborough or somewhere like that. Some coastal town. And I just saw this big unit walking through it. Like when you're at Coast and there's droves of people knocking you over and kids screaming and whatnot. And I just saw this big dude coming towards me, and I thought, shit, who's that? What is that? Jack Massey? Anyway, I had a chat with him, but he's a lump. He's a lump, and he's a pro as well. But I think it's a good fight. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. It is a voluntary, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a voluntary. Look, for me, the Opetaia performance we saw earlier in the year, he was hell-bent on making a statement against Bradis. He was hell-bent on proving, I'm going to smash this guy up. He doesn't deserve to be in the same ring as me, which is why I think his gas tank was so low in the second half of the fight. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. In terms of Jack Massey, look, he's coming off of his career best win against Isaac Chamberlain for the European and Commonwealth belt. You've got to remember, he took that fight against Chamberlain at 4 weeks' notice. He was a stand-in opponent, and for me, stole the card at Selhurst Park. I mean, it wasn't difficult to steal that Billum Smith Reactport card, if we're being perfectly honest.
No,
but he's the name that everyone was talking about the day after, wasn't it? He put in a fantastic performance. Will he be able to ride the crest of the wave from that Chamberlain victory? For me, it's a level too far. Look, fantastic achievement being Commonwealth and European champion. I give you your flowers. You deserve this opportunity, Jack Massey, but Opetaia is an elite level operator. And for me, once he's done down here at cruiserweight, he moves up to heavyweight. He becomes a heavyweight world champion. And that's the level Jack Massey is dealing with on Saturday.
I'd like to see Opetaia fight Lawrence Okolie at Bridger. I don't think he's big enough for heavyweight.
Okolie's vacated that Bridgerweight title tonight, mate. He's moving up to heavyweight. It's been announced in the last half an hour.
Well, that made me look like a knobhead then, didn't it? You could have texted me that 5 minutes ago, mate. Fucking hell. Yeah,
I didn't expect you to go down the Okolie route.
Just fast forward this. Yeah. Anyway, so that's pissed on my bonfire. So, yeah. Well, there's a vacant title for you there, Jai. Go get it, brother. But I just think, I mean, there's still a bit for him to do at Cruiser, because let's be honest, he hasn't had that fight yet. He hasn't had the fight, which is another champion. He hasn't fought anybody that's sort of on a similar level to himself. I know he's fought Bradis and I know he's fought the odd, but he's fought, I mean, every time we've seen him over here, he's fought, Zorro. Who did he fight? Who did he knock out?
Jordan Thompson, he's done at Wembley Arena.
No, there was the other kid, wasn't there? The Zorro. What was the other kid that he sparked?
He done Ellis Zorro in Saudi on the Day of Reckoning card last year, but his one at Wembley Arena last year was Jordan Thompson, and he done him in 3 rounds.
We need to see him in a big cruiserweight unification fight, or at least a big fight against, somebody that's. I just don't want to diss Jack Massey by saying this, because I know Jack Massey's going to win. You know, and him and his camp will be expecting to win. But this is not the fight that, if you could have said, pick a fight for Jai Opetaia, Jack Massey's not on that list.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Mate, you're completely right. I want to see Opetaia come through this and then push for unifications. For me, as I said, he's a
Ramirez, Billum Smith.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, for me, he's a level above Jack Massey. It may take him a few rounds to figure out Massey. He may use, to coin the Lomachenko phrase, the first 2 or 3 rounds to download the data, see what's coming back at him. But I fully expect him to move through the gears, and we'll see a stoppage between rounds 5 and 8. I don't think he'll ice his opponent like he done against Ellis Zorro last year. It may be Joe Gallagher having contrition for his fighter and saying you've had enough. But I do think we're going to see a stoppage victory from Jai Opetaia this weekend.
Joe Gallagher's never done that in his whole career. Joe Gallagher will let them fight to the death. Right?
I teed you up for that one, mate. So I thought I'd let you get that.
Yeah, the less said about Joe Gallagher.
Prediction. Prediction. Let's stick to that. Prediction.
I've gone for KO9. I've gone
KO9.
KO9. Yeah. Sorry, Jack. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. No. Look, we love the Brits, but Jai Opetaia is that man. If that makes sense. At the moment, you know,
it's special as Jai. Yeah. Special man.
All right, so we'll move on to what we hope is going to be the co-main of the evening. What for me, besides the main event,
regardless of where it is on the card, for me, this is the second biggest fight on the card.
It is Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke for the British and Commonwealth heavyweight titles. And this isn't Brit bias. They are coming off the back of one of the fights of 2024 on Easter Sunday at the back end of March this year. Fantastic 12-round fight. We're getting to see it again immediately, so props for both. I'm going to do my best to park my local Fabio Wardley bias here. I'm a bit wrong way, mate. Pointing the wrong way. I'm going to do my best to park the bias.
It might be wrong on yours. It's not on mine. There you go.
But first fight was a 12-round war. Fabio Wardley badly hampered by his nose being busted early in the fight. We've seen the images from the press conference last week and him during training camp. There's a lot of scar tissue there. So
why is the plastic surgeon not sorted that out?
I don't know. So my first question for you here is, will the nose be a factor again?
Say again, sorry.
Will the nose be a factor in this fight again, and how early?
Yeah. I mean, I've had 3 surgeries on my nose. I've had a couple of breaks, one by a punch, one by a ball, and one by an elbow. So yeah, and I don't box, so I've had it busted a couple of times in sparring when I was a teenager. But yeah, mine was ever so delicate. So to be up at that kind of level, I think it'll split within a couple of rounds. But I think now he sort of knows what happens, how to deal with it. You know, swallowing blood, you can't breathe as much. I think he'll conserve his energy a little bit more. He seemed to go all out, especially when he rocked Frazer. I think he thought he could get him out of there. I don't think he realised how tough Frazer was. You know, Frazer's been an elite amateur for
too many
10,
years,
15 years or whatever. You know, he sparred the likes of Joshua. He sparred them all. He's fought in WSB. You know, Frazer Clarke's not this novice pro that we all or people, you know, seem to think he is. Frazer Clarke's got a resume like a world champion. You know, he's fought a who's who. You know, and I just think that, you know, Wardley surprised a lot of people because a lot of people were giving him stick. Oh, he's white collar and he's going to get outboxed. I mean, he held his own against. What did Frazer get? Did he get a bronze?
Bronze. Against
an Olympic bronze medalist. To get to the Olympics in it themselves is an achievement. To be selected in your discipline, to get a bronze medal, to finish third, basically in however many boxers go to the Olympics, is a fantastic accolade. And I think Frazer obviously is going to target his nose with his jab, and I think it'll cause him a problem, but not as much as it did in the first fight.
Yeah, mate, just finishing up on Fabio for me. So he got the knockdown in round 5 last time round. And then for me, and having watched the fight back this afternoon, he then seemed to not pull the trigger. At the start of round 6, Frazer's legs still weren't back underneath him. Now, I'm not saying he was going to get a finish at that point, but he never seemed to even press it. For me, obviously, he's worried about his nose. The fatigue was kicking in. And I also question if he had enough faith in his gas tank to get him through another 6 rounds if he makes a big assault. I don't think that'll be a factor this time. I think he'll back his cardio and back his gas tank a little bit more. We'll move on to Frazer Clarke. Obviously, he was knocked down and he was deducted a point for the low blows in the first fight. Low blows and Frazer Clarke, bit of a pattern here. Obviously, the Dave Allen fight, he was also docked points for low blows repeatedly, more than once. We all saw that fight on the second Eubank and Liam Smith card. And then last time out, he was docked a point after doing it 2 or 3 times. So is that an issue with Frazer Clarke, do you think? He just seems to, you know, he seems to be constantly finding the low blows. It's not as if Wardley's trunks are up high.
It's always the same sort of position that they're in. He's sort of pulling away and then he'll go for a body shot and he's just that much bigger than him that he's, you know, he's punching too low. I don't think he's targeting that specific area to try get an advantage. I just think it's just bad luck. Dave Allen, he probably wanted to punch him in the nuts just to get rid of him, to be fair. It gets on a lot of people's nerves. Not mine, David, before you start. No. But no, I don't think it's a problem. I think we'll get a similar fight to what we did last time. And I think, as we all know, Ipswich struggled to get a win at anything. So I don't see it being. I don't see him robbing my mate this time.
Mate, for me, this fight is round 13. There's more respect between these two for the 12 rounds they shared, but that
Definitely
needle
more respect.
stayed there. The needle is still there, which I think is going to help on
Still
Saturday.
there. They both want the win, don't they? They both want to be able to say that they've beat the other person. Nobody wants a draw. There's only, people maybe that have backed it at 20-1 or whatever. Did I forget to tell you I did? But yeah. But no, I love a draw. Everyone that knows me knows I love a draw. But no, in all seriousness, gamble responsibly. I don't gamble at all. I'm not promoting gambling at all. Yeah, I definitely think it's round 13. I think the needles stayed there, but the respect is there also. I've seen them do a round table with Ade Oladipo. I've also seen I think there's a Sky one.
Johnny Nelson as well. Yeah,
Johnny Nelson do one, and I believe the needle came through a little bit more on that one. I think that one was a little bit more spiteful, but Johnny don't give a shit. Ade is very, how can I put this? Yeah,
party line. Pose the party line.
Yeah, he's very much for TV, is Ade. He don't really ask the questions. Johnny don't give a shit. Johnny, because let's be fair, I mean, Johnny will throw down probably. Johnny looks as fit as he did 20-odd years ago. And it wasn't that long ago that that Michael Hook was going to break Johnny Nelson's record, and Johnny Nelson wanted to fight Michael Hook for his record. That's only 5 or 6 years ago. But no, I believe that we are going to get a very similar fight to last time. I think they're both going to try to take each other's head off. I just believe that because they know each other now and they know what to expect, unless we get something very different out of one of them, which, I mean, to change his style and your tactics, maybe tactics, yeah, but to change his style at this point would be dangerous. It'd be suicidal, because let's say Clark goes in there and doesn't get behind his jab and tries to fight Wardley, he'll come unstuck and get knocked out. And I think if Wardley tries to box at range, now his boxing ability is very underrated, but not as good as Fraser's. So I think if he tries to box on the back foot, then he'll get picked off and it'll be a wide point to Fraser. So it's, for me, other than the main event, it's the most intriguing fight of the night.
Right. Get off the fence. Give me your prediction.
I'm not on the fence. Clark beats him.
Okay. So
Clark stops him fairly early as well.
Everything you've just said, mate, I agree with. If Fraser wants to make it a boxing match, he can win it quite comfortably on points. But I just think he'll get drawn in because of the first fight, because of that needle between them. It will become a brawl at some point. And when it becomes a brawl, Fabio this time, I don't think will hold back. He will put his foot down. And that, for me, is where I'm backing him for a stoppage. I think it will come between 7 and 9. Fabio to win this and remain the British and Commonwealth champion.
The only problem with what you're saying there is that if he doesn't get Fraser out of there, what's he going to have left? That's what I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
That both of them get one hurt or wobbled or think they've got them hurt and go for it, what they're going to have left. And I think that will be a contributing factor in this fight. I think that fatigue is going to play a massive factor. I think we're going to see these two guys gassing after 4 or 5. Not gassing, but considerably tired, more tired than what we expected very early in the fight. A bit like, I think it'll be a lot classier, but do you remember when Chisora and Dillian White fought and they were both looked gassed after about 45 seconds?
I know exactly what you mean. It's going to be similar to that. Yeah, mate, it's an intriguing fight, but I'm sticking with my prediction for Fabio to remain the champion. We'll see what happens. I'm really glad they're winning it back. I'm glad it hasn't just circumnavigated away from each other. They've come back around and we're getting it again.
That's what we want to see as boxing fans, right? When there's a fight that ends like that I won't say controversy, but in a decision that not everybody agrees with, because it wasn't controversial really. There was points deducted, there was a knockdown. So I think draw, even though I thought Clark edged it, I'm not screaming it from the rooftops because I think a draw has given us what we needed. I think if one of them had won, they'd have dined out on it and we'd have never got the rematch.
Oh, yeah, we never would have got the rematch.
He'd have rubbed it in his face forever. And I think if Wardley had done, he'd have done exactly the same. He'd have gone, I beat you. I don't need to fight you. I don't need to go back down and pass your level, rah, rah, rah. So I think the draw has given us what we want as fans. We want round 13, don't we, of great fights. How many great fights have we seen them? They've never made them again. You know, I've seen loads. So no, I'm. This is the fight I'm looking forward to and intrigued by more so than any other fight on the card, other than the main event. For me, this is you know, this could steal fight of the night.
It could do, mate. But we've just, you know, we've teased and we've toyed, but let's get into this main event. As you can see from the title, we've got two massive beasts from the East and they are colliding in the Saudi desert. It's Artur Beterbiev, it's Dimitri Bivol, it's for all the marbles, including the IBO title at 175 pounds. Pushed back from June. And I'm going to be honest, we had a delay to Fury Usyk, but this delay from June to October for this fight has actually revved me up even more. I can't believe it's finally fight week. I can't believe it's finally here. And we're finally going to find out which one of these two dangerous, bad men is the ruler at 175. We'll start with Beterbiev. He's 20-0, 20 KOs. Second fight of the year after, unfortunately, beat our Brit and our friend Callum Smith in January this year, which we were all disappointed to see. We hoped Callum would do it. This wasn't his night. He's undoubtedly one of the most devastating punchers in boxing. He undoubtedly carries the power late into fights. When he won the IBF belt, which was his first belt, he knocked his opponent out with 45 seconds left of the 12th round. So his power carries into fights. But my question is, at 39 years old, with multiple injuries, coming off a meniscus injury surgery and coming back this quickly, is his body going to let him down on Saturday night?
I mean, you know how I feel about it. I've said, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised we're here. I didn't think we'd get here. I thought he'd pull out prior to this. I thought his body would break down. I think it's too early to come back off a meniscus tear. I think it's all stacked against him. I know he's unbeaten and he's chinned everybody and, you know, but he's not fighting just anybody now. No disrespect to Callum Smith, no disrespect to Callum Johnson and
Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah, some of the great champions that he's beat. You know, he has shown holes in his game, and his opponent has shown less holes in his game. I think we know more about Beterbiev's weaknesses than we do about Bivol's. You know, for me, that's the contributing factor in this fight. Is we know, I wouldn't say there's a blueprint on how to beat either of them because they're both unbeaten, but I think we've seen more holes in Beterbiev's game than we have in Bivol's, just for the simple fact that he's been knocked down, he's been wobbled, he's been hurt. You know, he takes a lot of shots. But, you know, who am I? I'm just a guy that gives his opinion on YouTube for shits and giggles, basically. You know, I'm no boxing expert, but yeah, for me, I sound like a right hater, but I'm not. But I just think there's holes in his game. And the right person could get that. I don't believe that Yard and them kind of people were ever going to do it.
No, they're not. They're fighters. You need a boxer to be able to do it, which is what Bivol is. And I completely agree with you. Beterbiev is a lethal, dangerous man. Yeah. But there are holes in his game. If Callum Johnson and Anthony Yards, no offense to them guys, at the level they're at, can find holes and drop and exploit Artur Beterbiev, someone like Dimitri Bivol has the potential to have a
And also, sorry to cut you, just going back to Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson knocked Artur Beterbiev down after he'd been knocked down himself. So we know that he's not on, his power bar's not 100%. His head's spinning. Do you know what I'm saying? He's not planting his feet as he could have done. I think if Callum Johnson had been straight-headed, he'd have probably knocked him out and finished him, but he didn't have it. He just caught him, didn't he? And then, you know, he will hurt himself. So, yeah, it's intriguing. I'm interested by this matchup. I always have been, and I'm can't wait. Don't know whether you can tell.
Yeah, mate, it's fascinating. Bivol, 23-0, long-time WBA and IBO champion, coming off the back of his first stoppage win in 6 years on June 1st, when he actually showed a bit of animal that we haven't seen in a long time. Bivol, it's a bit of spite. Doesn't get the flowers he deserves, even after the Canelo victory. No one has ever really given him.
They said he wasn't looking. Oh, it's a fluke.
He completely dismantled him. And
he did not beat Canelo on size. He outboxed Canelo.
IQ. And that was going to be my next point. Bivol's boxing ability and ring IQ is still underrated, and that's what does it for him in this fight. He will be able to maneuver himself in and out of range. He will be able to do what he needs to do. And yeah, he may get dropped. He may get wet in this fight. But overall, his boxing ability is going to be too high a level for Beterbiev to deal with, especially if he comes in with lots of movement. Test that knee out of Beterbiev. If he doesn't like it, if he can't move and react to it, then it's going to be a very long night for Artur Beterbiev. And I'll come to you for your prediction now, mate, and then I'll give mine. I think I know which way you're going to go, but let's hear it for the people.
Well, I wrote it down here, right? And I've been... So this is off the back of something Sam wrote.
Yeah.
We were talking about Bivol's chin getting checked. And my reply was, it won't get checked. I do not think this fight is going to be close. I'll go as far to say that after winning only 2 of the first 10 rounds, Beterbiev's corner pull him out injured. 10th round, TKO.
You're going 10th round TKO. I agree with everything you just said, and I had a similar conversation with Sam yesterday as well when he put that out. I think he's not going to get the stoppage with Dimitri Bivol, but it's going to be a wide, unanimous points victory. It's not going to be close, unfortunately, which is a shame for an undisputed fight.
I can see Beterbiev getting frustrated and sort of chasing him, sort of thing. I think Bivol's going to be there.
That's what I can see, mate. Bivol to claim a wide points victory unanimously to become the undisputed ruler at £175. And that, my friend, closes the book on what should be a fantastic week. Let us know what you think in the comments, guys. Are me and Jay talking sense? Are we talking rubbish? We're happy to interrupt with you either way and share opinions. That's always the way it goes. Jay, just give the people your X handle and your YouTube page just before we go so they can drop you a follow if they're not already.
Both exactly the same. So it's at Jay's Fight Talk as it is down at the bottom. That's my X handle. It's also my YouTube channel. Yeah, just like, comment, share and subscribe. If you've got any topics you'd like me to discuss or us to discuss on No Punches Pulled, you know, let me know. I'm going to start uploading a little bit more content on YouTube. So yeah, but thank you for everybody that's followed me either through the lives that I do with the guys on No Punches Pulled or slots like I do on STBX. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for following. Keep it coming. Thank you. Good or bad. Listen, I'm the proverbial troll. You can give me as much shit as you want. You'll get it back.
Yeah. And look, if you're not following Jay, make sure you are. Very knowledgeable guy, has the experience of both sides of the ropes, and he's always happy to share and interact with people. As you can see on the screen, my X handle is at Liam_Tully9. Please follow me if you're not already. Need to get the numbers up.
Can I just say one thing? Because you said something there, and it didn't sit right with me. The experience in the ring, let's just put this out there, right? I boxed once as an amateur. I did not train properly. I like the prestige of being a boxer, but I didn't train properly. I took a fight. I got my ass handed to me, and it was at that exact moment that Jay knew he effed up. I never boxed again. I stuck to coaching. So, yeah, my experience within the ring is usually with a bucket in my hand.
Yeah, that's where I was referring to, mate.
I don't want to make out like I'm some former amateur boxer. I'm not. My card has got one fight on it, and yeah, but I'm unbeaten for the last 25 years, so I can dine out on that.
And on that note, that's where we're going to end it. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. I will be back at the same time next week to do it all again. Stay safe.
Thank you.